What's up? We are here. Book review for The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne, which is the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy, set 64 years before the original. And so this book came out in 2020. I meant to read it, but I was kind of like, yeah, maybe I'll read it, maybe I won't. I'll read it. It was one of those, I'll get to it when I get to it. I wasn't really in a rush to read it. Then the movie stuff starting to come out. The movie comes out next Friday. Today is Saturday, the 11th of November. Movie comes out on the 17th. So I had to make sure I read this. And the movie trailer is so fucking good. I was like, yo, I gotta read this fucking book first to be extra sure about, if you're into reading and the movies, we generally like to read the book first. This is what we do. So, overall, just based on my memory of when I read the original books, like 12 years ago, this is definitely the best book. Why? Because it is just so fucking brutal and psychological, philosophical, and it's the longest book. This is 517 pages. The longest book in the original trilogy, I think, was 392. I think that was Catching Fire. And I think one of them was 391. And the other one was like 367 or 378. No, I did not memorize that from way back when. I looked it up last week. So I think those are the page numbers from the originals. And overall, I think the biggest difference between this story and the other one, the original trilogy is a traditional good versus evil, we gotta beat the bad guys story. I mean, there's some gray area in there, some exploration of philosophy in there, especially when it comes to characters like Gail, who just like hates all the capital, and at the end when they're like, should we make the capital children do Hunger Games? And the character President Coin, how like just because you're overthrowing one tyrannical dictator, you can very easily, and a lot of times this has happened in history, you replace them with someone potentially even worse than they were. So it definitely touched on the big shit in the original, and it wasn't just completely good versus evil, although it was the main driving force of it. Whereas with this one, it definitely isn't a good versus evil story. It's a character study and really a study of an exploration of human nature. And what are we as humans willing to do to survive? Like, how far are we willing to go to survive and to ensure our survival and our family survival? And at what point is it too far? At what point do you cross the line of, oh, I'm doing this to survive, and it becomes, no, you just fucked up. You're just an evil person. And it's for you. It's really for you as the reader to decide what you believe. Obviously, I've jumped on Reddit and YouTube, other people's YouTube videos, in the comments, seeing other people's opinions on the characters, and is Corio evil? Is he not evil? Is he just someone trying to survive? I think that's the general idea you're supposed to draw from this book, is that as humans, we're just all just trying to fucking survive, and we will go to extreme lengths to make sure we survive, including, murder, war, all these things. You see what's going on in the world today. You see what's going on in the world the past few years. Like, especially when I talk about politics, we're not gonna go that far into politics on this, but it obviously does relate to the book somewhat, in terms of the philosophy in the book. I try not to look at the world and even politics as this good versus evil struggle, like, oh, the left is evil, the right is good, or the right is evil. The left are good, these people are good people because they want to help the poor, or these people are good people because they want to make sure you can believe what you want to believe, I think at the end of the day, everybody's just trying to survive. And everybody has their own opinions and their own views on what is the best way to ensure survival. I think everybody, I think for the most part, we're all just out for ourselves and our families. And as far as altruism goes, I think to a certain extent, I think while we are capable of altruism, I don't think we're fully. I don't think. I don't think we're as. I don't think it's as pure as people try to make it out to seem. I think a lot of altruistic people are just using that shit as like a front for one thing or another. Uh, that's just my opinion of it. And I just think our nature as people is just to just do whatever the fuck we need to do to survive. So at the end of the day, we are animals, just like the animals in the jungle. They out there eating each other to survive, and we eat each other as well. Only our way of eating each other is through the money system, the in war. We go to war, or we use money to put each other down, and that's our way of eating each other, just like animals out in the jungle. It's all the same. That's my own personal opinion and philosophy on life. And I think so. It was really cool reading Corio's perspective in this book because I really identified with him a lot. In the way he goes about life, I do a lot of chess piece playing, if you want to call it that. It hasn't worked out for me at all, but and I would say you probably should just go to school and just stay in school and be normal. Uh, but you don't try to stand out. You know, the nail that stands out gets hammered, and that's the fucking truth. But it was definitely interesting seeing some of my own personal philosophies going about in this book in this way. I know probably a lot of people won't agree with that shit, but it's not a normal philosophy to go to view. It's really cynical and or endo-pessimistic view of the world. Um, I try to say, look, it's not cynical or pessimistic. It's just realistic. There's good, there's bad, there's necessary, there's unnecessary, and that's just the way it is. Shit happens. We're just out there trying to survive. We're gonna do what we need to do to survive. And that obviously leans more into, like I said, this is a character study of, and it's an exploration of human nature in general. And Corio, a lot of people who come away from the book wanting to paint this black and white picture of him either being this bad guy, this evil dude. Oh, he's just a killer. He's just a sociopath. He's just manipulative and he's over possessive of Lucy Gray and all that. And while it's true, I think you're intended to balance that out with not necessarily the fact that she's humanizing it. Well, I think she's humanizing him in the sense that as humans, we're all at least to some extent like this. We're all kind of fucked up. We're all just trying to survive. And you have to look at it from his perspective. Like he's broke. His family's broke. They're about to be homeless potentially. What the fuck do you expect him to do? Just take that shit? No, he's gonna do whatever it takes to try to not go homeless. And obviously, this position in the games is one way to get that done. I think he does genuinely feel something for Lucy Gray. I'm not gonna go as far to call it all that. I don't think they're like deeply in love, or like not as much as they try to act like they are or say they are. I think they want to be, but I don't think they really are. I think and that's another thing about Lucy Gray and Corio's relationship. A lot of people want to come away from that relationship saying like, oh, he's abusing her. It's mental abuse because he's over possessive and he's trying to manipulate and control her. And I came away from this whole thing saying she's pretty much doing the exact same thing. From the start, she's manipulating everything. She's taking every opportunity to try to manipulate people to get herself to make sure she survives. And that's the thing with the story. It's not about black and white, good and evil. It's about this gray area of human nature. You're just gonna do what you need to survive. Hence Lucy Gray. think that's kind of the part of her whole character is that it's easy to look at her and say, oh, she's just a sweet girl, this singer, and blah, blah, blah. I think that's part of the reason why her name is Gray, but she wears all these rainbow colors. It's a front. She's just as manipulative and fucked up as Corio. They're both orphans. They're both broke orphans. Only difference is he's from the capital, and she's Covey. She's from 12, or she's not from 12. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, they're both two broke orphans trying to survive, and they both see a path of survival through each other, and so they try to use each other for that purpose. And then at the end, he does not betray her, she does not betray him. They betray each other once they both come to the realization that the other one isn't going to be as helpful in their survival as they wanted. She comes to the conclusion that she can't trust him. He comes to the conclusion that he can't trust her. So he tries to kill her and she runs away. Or rather, she runs away and then he tries to kill her. She ran away first. Let's just throw that out there. She ran away before he tried to kill her. Right? So it's easy because it's from his perspective to just see the crazy thoughts in his mind and just say he's the crazy one. But really, I think everybody's just all fucked up and trying to survive. Even the capital to an extent, because you can say in Dr. Call, because like is this idea of the eternal war, and that the reason why the games have to happen is because she's like, we can't let up off them because then they'll come after us again. You know, so we have to suppress them, oppress them so much that we eliminate their will to fight. Their will to fight us. And and it's not even about, like I said, the fact that they were already oppressing them before the war. That's a non-factor. That doesn't matter. It's not about good and evil. That's not what the story is about. It's about what is, and looking at what is, and just doing what you need to do to survive in the what is, in the reality, not in the what you want it to be, which is what I think a lot of the ending is supposed to symbolize. Both Lucy Gray and Corio having to accept that this fantasy they had is not going to happen. It's not going to work out. And that they need to, let the relationship die. And he needs to go back to the fucking capital and be who he is. And she needs to go be who she is, whatever that is, whatever that means. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the book. We see, obviously, like I said, the book is so fucking brutal from Suzanne's storyline. And I was just reading that shit like, this nigga gonna die. Like, I was just reading this fucking parts. Like, man, I don't see this dude making it past the end of this book. And he did not. And I was like, god damn. That's another thing with Suzanne, with Corio betraying Suzanne's, it's like, he had to do that. Like, do you not realize how much danger Suzanne was putting this dude in? Like, all the time. Like, he could have easily gotten Coriolanus killed. Because if certain shit kind of went off, when the shit hit the fan of what Suzanne was doing, that could have easily blown back on Corio, and it could just kill him too just because. Because it's like, we know you cool with him. We know you done helped him. Looked out for him being his boy. So he could have easily been lumped in with that. So he really could not let Suzanne do what he was doing, bro. Like, he tried to help him so many times. Like I said, it's not about what you want it to be. It's about what it is. Yes, shit is wild. Yes, they're oppressing the people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. Because you don't have enough firepower to fight an actual war again. You don't have... It's like... I said, everybody's just doing what they need to survive. And I think that's really the main takeaway of the book. When I was just reading the Genesis part, like, man, this dude is not going to survive. Gall, even Dr. Gall. Like I said, with her, it was like, yeah, dude, it's easy to just say, oh, she's just so evil and all that. But it was like, I think it kind of explains her reasoning is like, well, why keep ourselves? Why give them the opportunity to pose a threat to us when we can like shut it down right now and put the fist down? It makes sense from their perspective. I think it's the like you're meant to just look at it from their perspective, but not come away like, oh my god, they're so evil. I'm just on this moral high horse. Blah blah blah. I don't give a fuck. Like even in real life, I kind of look at a lot of the shit going on in society and in the world and the wars and all that, and I'm just kind of like, it is what it is. Like I'm not gonna sit here having trying to overly emotional, having sympathy for motherfuckers when it's just like this is what we do. This is what the world does. We go to war constantly. We have for thousands of years. And until this bitch blow up, we gonna keep doing it. And I think with Corio's thing, it's like his way of doing it is kind of like how I look at the world. Instead of complaining about the way things are, be intelligent enough to maneuver your way into a position that fits what you want best so that you aren't necessarily being, you know, it's better to be pissed on. No, it's better to be pissed off than pissed on. You know, it's better to be the oppressor than the oppressed. And I mean, that is very much true. Like, no matter how you want to look at the morality of shit, at the end of the day, it's better to be the rich motherfucker in the mansion than the poor motherfucker on food stamps. It just is. No matter how you get there, it just is. And I think that's kind of where I kind of looked at it from. What else? High Bottom, found this story interesting and the guilt he felt, and what Gull and Crassus did to him, basically kind of forcing him to hold this in his conscience for so long that he didn't even want the Hunger Games to become a thing, and they just did it anyway. That was kind of wild. I mean, that kind of added more to, I think, this idea of the Capitol as a group of people who are just trying to survive. There may be people at the very top who are controlling the strings, like Gaul, the president, forcing the games to happen. But not everybody is evil or whatever. You feel me? Everybody's just trying to survive. Even the people who seem the most evil, a lot of the times, if you really stop and think about their own motivations, it was driven by a need for survival and feeling like, you know what, we gotta do this to ensure our survival. Because if we show weakness, then our enemies gonna pop off and take us out. And I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. Look, I'm looking at my notes, seeing. All right, yeah, and the ending. I guess since this is only 18 minutes, we can do this video. So I was gonna make it a different. I'll still do a different video to go more in depth with it. But personally, some people think Lucy Gray made it to District 13 and became President Coin, or she became President Coin's mother. Some people think Lucy Gray made it to District 11 and became Rue's grandmother. I think that she probably just died. And the reason I think that, well, no, yeah, I think she died. I think she died, but he didn't kill her. I think she either died in the woods from infection from the wound he gave her. Because I do believe that I think he hit her, but it was like a non-life-threatening wound, like an arm, like a flesh wound, leg wound. But that is very possible that she got an infection and died in the woods. Or I think that she committed suicide. And I think most likely that's what actually happened to her. I'll make another video explaining. This video is already 20 minutes long. I don't want to go too long. I mean, like more in depth, going through that scene, picking apart that scene at the end and explaining why I think she probably died that she probably committed suicide. Uh, I said the infection is possible from the flesh wound, but I think she most likely committed suicide. And that was probably always her plan, but I don't think she ever fully intended on her and Corio living happily ever after in the like going to 13 or going to 11 or going to the wood. I think she always intended for them to commit suicide together. And then when she kind of just accepted there's no way he's gonna do that. She left and she let him leave. She hit him with the non-venomous snake. I definitely think that was on purpose. Uh, she hit him with the non-venomous snake to drive him away, and she hit him with the mental attack, with the fucking Mockingjay attack, with the song, and then I think when he left, I think she possibly committed suicide. I mean, he dumped the fucking. She still had the knife. He dumped the guns, but she still had the knife, and I think she possibly slit her wrist. Maybe. Maybe. And that's probably why she took the knife. Because I think, didn't she say, like, oh, this will be useful? She didn't want the guns. She said, I don't trust them. She thought about it, and she's like, yeah, I think the exact wording was like, she thought about it for a long moment, and then she was like, nah, I don't trust those. And then she took the knife, and she was like, but this will be useful. And then she's like, but then you're like, well, what did she mean by that? If she wasn't really going to go get the Katniss root, because she wasn't going to go get the Katniss root. She left on purpose. Like, that was her intent when she left out that room. She was leaving. And I said we'll go more into that when I do the video about why I believe she committed suicide. But I fully believe that she definitely committed suicide. And that is I guess the other thing I want to say was, at the end of the day, it also doesn't really matter whether Lucy Gray lived or died, because that's not the point. If the author, if Suzanne Collins wanted you to know that for sure whether she lived or died, and she would have told you. Like, we know Snow dies at the end of Mockingjay. We know Coy dies. We know that they form a democracy or whatever the fuck, and that everything's good now. We know shit. We don't know what happened to Lucy Gray because we don't need to know, because it doesn't matter what happened to Lucy Gray. The point is that whether she's alive or dead, she becomes a ghost for Corio, and her songs and her legacy play a part in his downfall, even if regardless whether she was alive or dead for it. Like I said, I think most likely she died. She committed suicide in the forest, but I think that it doesn't matter what happened to her anyway, because it's not the point of the story. It plants the seeds for his downfall. It shows you the beginnings of his rise, while also planting the seeds for his downfall. And I think that's good enough for me. Now, as for a sequel, nothing has been announced as far as I know. I wouldn't mind getting another book showing him actually becoming president, and like whatever his last hurdles were. If he had any hurdles, because I know that they say he became president when he was young, by just poisoning everybody who stood in his way. So even if we know that's how it happened, it'd still be interesting to know, to get another, like, a full story on that and see it play out. I just think if they were, what, we just have to, like, kind of figure out what with that year's Hunger Games, how would that factor into it, because it feels like you kind of would have to factor in that year's Hunger Games into it. you would have to figure in maybe Gaul's still alive, because in this story he's 18. He's about to turn 19, I think, toward the end. And they say he was young, so we kind of I mean I think around 30 kind of makes a lot of sense. Maybe even 35 makes a lot of sense if they point out like he was just really young and just poisoned everybody. I don't know if the last person he would poison would be Gaul, um, or the President Ravensdale or whoever. But I'll be interested to see how exactly that happened. If she wanted to tell that story, um, I don't know if the theme would still be the whole human nature thing, or there would be another kind of central theme she was aiming for with the story. But I'm interested to see if she would do it and what it would be like. The one thing I do not want in that story, I do not want her to tell exactly what happened to Lucy Gray. I don't want them to reveal the truth of what happened to Lucy. I think that should stay a mystery. Like I said, I don't think it matters if we know or not. I don't think we should know. I think the purpose of her character and her ending and the symbolism of it should stay the way it is without fucking with it. Which is another thing about the movie. I really hope that they don't mess with it in the movie. And it doesn't look like they will, because the ending's pretty much in the trailer. So it looks like they're pretty much gonna keeping it mostly the same. I didn't notice she's not wearing the orange headband, like the headscarf that she used to like lure him in with the snake. She's not wearing that in the trailer. So that's the only real difference I noticed. But the scene when he's shooting up at the birds and he's like yelling Lucy Gray, that's in the trailer. The scene where she walks out the door with the knife, that's in the trailer. Yeah, they really fucked. They really threw a lot of shit in the trailer that if you read the book that you would recognize. The scene with her with the snakes, when the snakes get released into the arena, that's in the trailer. Like I said, I wonder what they cut. I really hope they didn't cut the funeral scenes. I really want to see how those look on camera, the funeral scenes. But that's my thoughts on the book. Let me know what you thought about it. The philosophy, the whole philosophical aspect of it, and the morality and the gray area idea of nobody's really right or wrong. Everybody's just trying to survive. And let me know what you thought of the book. And I will get back to you with those other. Oh yeah, the tigers. That they never explained what went wrong with tigers and snow. Although they did kind of. The only real subtle point towards about tigers and snow was that you could already see that she's way more of a compassionate person than he is. And so you can assume that probably led to them having the falling out and her turning against him, even though it would take another like 50 years for that to happen. Because if Katniss remembers her from the Hunger Games from when she was young, and that book is 64 years after this one, that means that she would have still been involved with the Capitol and Snow in the games for another like 50 years. So what would it take 50 years for her to realize and turn away from him when she probably should have already seen and known how he is? Like what would take 50 years for her to just be like, you know what, that's too much. I'm going. I think he really did fire her. I don't think she walked away from him. I think he really did fire her. Maybe because either he was just disgusted by her modifications, or he tried to pimp her out and she said no and he fired her for that. I think it's one of those two. So I don't think that really requires a whole video, but I think that's what happened between the two of them. Either he tried to pimp her out and she said no, and eventually she said no and he fired her and kicked her. He let her stay in the Capitol, obviously, but he was like, you out, you out the fold. Or he was just so disgusted by all her modifications and what she did to her face that he was like, nah, blood, you gone. They didn't explain why she likes to eat raw meat, though. They put it in there that she still obviously likes to all those years later, but they didn't really explain why she does. You would think that that would need some type of explanation, but who knows? Let me know what you thought of the book. What do you think about the movie coming up? What are you hoping that they don't cut? What do you think they're gonna cut? So yeah, that's it. See you in the next video. I'm still either I want to do the more in-depth explanation of the Hanging Tree song, or I want to combine that with, I think I might combine those videos, the Hanging Tree explanation, and the what's it called? The Lucy Gray, what happened to Lucy Gray, explaining more about why I think she committed suicide. I might combine those videos. I'll see when I make them. But yeah, shout out to you if you're still watching. And I'll see you in the next one.